Hello. So, I was reading the sutras just now, and I did a little meditation. And I felt inspired to talk about Dhamma. Nothing in particular yet, but I just felt inspired because I think the Dhamma is really precious, and I don't think people realize just how lucky they are to even be in an age where they have potential access to the actual Dhamma. And just how crazy it is that the Dhamma actually survived from the Buddha's time till this day in such a complete form. It's really crazy. It survived so many societal collapses, invasions, like monks locked in, bro. They had groups to memorize Nikayas. When there was a famine, monks wrote down the Dhamma on, I think it was palm leaves, while they were dying of hunger, just so it can be preserved. King Asoka, he sent missionaries, he revived the Dhamma when it was barely holding on. Basically, it survived so many times when it should have been wiped out. And then Bhikkhu Bodhi, man, translated it into English. Like, if you were born 200 years ago, you couldn't even hear the true Dhamma. It was locked in some niche monasteries. But no, we got accurate translations. Like 2,600 years after the Buddha's passing, we have basically what he talked about, word for word, in English. You could buy it online. So that is crazy, because birth as a human is incredibly rare. Birth as a human is incredibly rare. Most people's karma is not sending them to a human birth, okay? So yeah, you're not often born a human. And I'm not talking about human just like how we look, this skin, 2 arms. Human, anything, any being with the 5 aggregates. Oh my god, the camera's shaking because it's cold. 1 second, let me figure something out. 1 second. This should work. I have to sit on a wet chair, but that's fine. That's fine. Holy moly. Well then. Oh, it's still recording. I'm gonna keep that. It might be an interesting shot. Oh, now it's a little muddy, but it should be fine. As long as it works. Let me just set up the wet chair. It's wet. Let me just tap some water out of it. Okay, good. Basically, the fact you were born a human is rare. It doesn't happen often. See, most karma leads us to lower births. Why? Because of greed, hatred, and delusion. Even the subtlest trace can be enough for a lower birth. Humans require oddly balanced karma. See, because if you have just good karma, you go to a higher birth. Those are not good conditions for understanding the Dharma. So understand that you being in a human birth is rare. It's conditions that align not very often. Then, see, there's not many Buddhas per eon, right? 1 eon, you can imagine it like this. If you took a silk cloth and used it to completely erase Mount Everest, like wipe it down, that's how long an eon is. And in this eon, there's so far been 4 Buddhas, and there's gonna be the 5th one, Meteya, not yet. But that means in such a long period of time, like trillions of births, only like a handful of Buddhas arise. And see, their teachings, especially our Buddha's teachings, he predicted it would last only 500 years after his death, and it's been 2,600, and you can still find the true Dhamma. Yes, there's a lot of fake Dhamma, specifically Mahayana, Zen, everything that's not Theravada Buddhism is just a wrong view. It doesn't align with the Nikaya's version of right view. It's not the true Dhamma. It leads to pleasant, calm mental states, but it does not lead to liberation from dukkha. So the fact you have a human birth and you're riding the tail end of a Buddha's dispensation, basically, the fact that the Dhamma even exists right now is miraculous. It's rare conditions, the disciples locked in. It's just holy shit, right? How lucky you are to be a human and riding the tail end of a Buddha's disposition. You could have been born a human when there was no Buddha, or where there was no English translation, or where the Dhamma was simply forgotten. So the fact is, you have two really rare conditions: a human birth and the true Dharma, right? And if you even have an inkling of pull towards understanding Buddhism, that's also a rare condition. You might have faculties that are conducive for stream entry, the irreversible shift in tendencies that inclines you towards release, not more rebirth. So that's the only guarantee you can get in samsara, is stream entry, and it's incredibly rare and difficult, but it is possible, and it allows you to basically have one of the few, the only possible guarantee that can arise in samsara, and that is the guarantee of final nirvana in 7 lives or less if you attain stream entry, which is a great guarantee, honestly. It requires mainly 2 conditions. I've identified 2 conditions that are really important for stream entry, and that is yoniso masikara, which is wise attention. So basically, instead of just seeing things on the surface level, how they arise, you see their conditionality, right? You trace the conditions from where they arise from. You see the craving, you see the dukkha, right? Basically, it's attention that sees conditionality, right? So if a feeling arose, I wouldn't be like, using wise attention, it wouldn't be like, oh, I feel this. It would be like, this feeling arose due to conditions. These are the conditions for this feeling arising. This feeling, because it's arising, it's gonna cease. If clung to, and if you notice clinging, it's causing dukkha, right? So it's basically, see, because most spiritual paths, they deny analytical thinking. They say it's just conceptualizing, but wise attention is basically, what's happening? Why is everything dark? Hello, shine. Did my screen become darker? 1 second, I feel like a boomer. I hope you can see me. But yeah, basically, wise attention is a mental tendency, a mental habit to investigate and see the conditioned causal nature of all arisings. And that is supported by the other condition I have identified for stream entry, and which is samadhi, concentration. Because concentration allows the mind to not be scattered, which allows you to perceive more subtler arisings, more subtler conditions, more subtler clingings. So if the mind is unified, it can see better. But see, look how they're both needed, because if you only had samadhi, if you only had concentration, you wouldn't have the insight to cut the fetters, to uproot the first 3 fetters and enter the stream. But if you had just yoniso masikara, but 0 concentration, not even access concentration, then you wouldn't be able to notice the things you're supposed to notice in order to uproot the fetters. So these 2 conditions together, I feel like, when applied, and I guess being well versed in the Dhamma, reading the Dhamma, understanding the Dhamma, conceptually at least, I'll add that condition, fuck it. If these things align perfectly, then a transformative shift in perception happens. Dependent origination is seen so deeply that no belief in a permanent self can even arise. It has been completely uprooted. The mental tendency has shifted. The Dhamma has been also experientially confirmed to the point where all doubt towards the Buddha drops away. And because seeing with wise attention, you see that this change came about through insight, through concentration, through wise attention, you drop the belief in rites and rituals, and that's entering the stream. And why is it irreversible? Because it is not based on memory, it's based on mental tendency, right? And mental tendencies carry over upon rebirth while memories don't. So if you have a tendency of high concentration, investigating causes and conditions, right? then that tendency upon the next birth is gonna keep carrying on the momentum. Your mind is now no longer inclined towards more becoming, but towards investigation and letting go. That's why nirvana is guaranteed, because the inclination changed. The mind now investigates, right? And investigation leads directly to seeing dukkha, disenchantment, non-clinging, and liberation. So, if you understand that it's urgent, that the chances for you to even pursue stream entry are low, and that there are conditions for it, right? If you condition wise attention and concentration as a practice, then why would you pursue worldly things? Honest question. Because, see, this is gonna pass. Because this whole world, this whole experience, your whole life arose due to conditions, it's gonna pass. But the Dhamma is timeless in the sense where conditionality runs the show. So if there's a tendency to see that tendency, that momentum carries over, right? So the only thing, the only sane move, seeing these things clearly, is to practice the Dhamma. Because everything you could hold dear in this life is gonna pass 100%. You're not even gonna have the memory, oh, I gotta achieve this, you know, and then you die. And then your mental tendencies are all messed up, all like, your mental tendencies become the defilements. I need more, I need to achieve stuff, I need to become more, and hence more rebirth, right? But if your mental tendencies are renunciation, wise attention, investigation, concentration, and those tendencies carry over, what's that gonna lead? Well, the moment you hear the true Dhamma in the next life, which, if you have those tendencies, that trajectory is assured, right? You have assured 7 lives or less. It's immediately gonna make sense, because it's gonna be related to your experience. It's not gonna be merely a conceptual framework you hear, it's gonna be directly tied to the tendencies your mind already has. It's already conditioned. So cultivation is important. Understanding karma is important. Understanding conditionality is important. Seeing dependent origination is important. Seeing the Four Noble Truths is important, right? The practice transcends this life. The practice is genius. It's basically surgical, right? Remove the cause for ignorance. Ignorance cannot arise. The cause is not memory based, it's tendency based. So when we remove the tendency for self-view, doubt, or believe in rituals, the stream has been entered, and that cannot be undone. It's irreversible, because it's like, even if you reincarnate and you don't have any memories, just the way the mind relates to experience is not the same. It's gonna notice the same patterns because there's a tendency there, right? Just how you might now have a tendency for chasing pleasures and achievement and gain, right? So pursue stream entry, have faith in the Dhamma, practice wise attention, concentration, ethics, guarding the sense doors, everything. Trust the Dhamma, it won't let you down. Everything else passes, but practicing the Dhamma is never a wasted effort. It's always fruitful, and I highly recommend it. I'm not gonna claim everything, but it works. I'm saying it works. It does work. It legit works, man. I'm a guy who's more pragmatic, who's more based on analysis. You know, I wouldn't be preaching something I don't genuinely think, believe, see working. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, hit me in the comments. If you want to get in contact, we can arrange that. If you want to make a video together discussing Dhamma, we can talk about that. If you want any book recommendations, it's basically just the Nikayas, the Dhammapada, but if you want me to write it down for you, ask in the comments. Basically anything anyone needs regarding Dhamma, hit me up. I'm right here, always available. Thanks for watching.